Hey, and welcome to York County Marine. This is a do-over video. It's do-over because the last video we did of our Boston Whaler Sourpuss had a bunch of mistakes in it. So we deleted it and we're starting over again. So what we have here is an absolutely beautiful 1971 Boston Whaler Sourpuss. The 13-foot Sourpuss came out in 71, had a run until 75. And here are the differences that make up a Sourpuss. All right, first of all, if we jump in here and look at the interior, the Sourpuss has a center mounted steering wheel instead of a center steering wheel over here on the right side of the boat. You also have this full length console instead of a shorter console over here on the right or starboard side of the boat like you would have had in the Sport. So it's kind of cool. You actually drive the boat from the center. Okay, what else? You also have backrest. You move these cushions a little bit and you see that you have a full-length backrest on the bench in front of the console. It's very nice and comfortable. And you also have a full-length backrest on the rear bench, so both you and your passengers are really going to appreciate that. The backrest in the back of the boat here is really cool. You can see it's kind of raised and it's actually mounted to the stainless steel wraparound handrail system. So that's another difference with the Sourpuss, is all the Sourpusses came with this wraparound stainless steel handrail. It looks really cool, and obviously a handrail is designed to keep you in the boat. You hold on to it when you're out there running around jumping over waves and all that fun stuff, but so that's your functional part. But this also functions as a structural component, holding up. It wraps underneath the rear bench and holds that bench up, and it just has a really slick look. So those are your primary differences with the Sourpuss. You've got center mounted steering wheel, the full-length console, backrest, and the wraparound handrail system. You also have, and forgive the mess here, but you also have these blue denim-like seat cushions. So I'm just going to grab one and throw it on here just to give you an idea of how this looks. So there's your backrest, and then we'll put that right there. Cool, just like that. And we have them for the front and the rear. So you have these brass grommets, where then you lace a long shoelace basically into these cushions, which holds them on to the wooden interior, again, front and rear. And it gives it a really cool look. So the idea with this blue is that it was supposed to look like denim. You got to think back in the early 70s and the 60s, denim was everything. This was the peace movement and hippies and all that stuff. Everyone wore denim, whether it was a denim jacket or just jeans or what have you. So this was Boston Whaler kind of paying homage to the denim era. And they are even supposed to look like denim, and they're also supposed to wear like denim as well. So we've got the set front and rear. They also do a great job of protecting the finish on the bench itself, and there's a considerable amount of padding there, so gives you a little bit of extra cushion there when you're out there running around jumping over waves and such. So really cool look. That's your differences in the Sourpuss. Again, they ran from 71 to 75. This Boston Whaler Sourpuss was actually built January 6th, 1975. So makes the boat even cooler, in my opinion, is that this is one of the very first Sourpusses. Also, 1971 was a very important year for the 13-foot Boston Whaler. There were a handful of changes that were made to the hull, most notably the smirk. So you can see we have the smirked hull here. This is one of the first Boston Whaler 13-footers with a smirked hull. Came out in 1971, so kind of cool stuff. Okay, this boat was actually delivered to the Boston Whaler dealer in February of 1971 in Niçoise, I believe it was, Minnesota. So we brought this boat all the way across the country from Minnesota. We bought her from an older couple. This older couple was the second owner. They actually owned this boat since 1983. So they've owned this boat for a long time. Second owners, they bought it from the original owner. Original owner put that 35 horsepower Johnson on there in 1977. So back in the 70s and the 80s, the 35 Johnson and 35 Evinrude those were the go-to motors for the 13-foot whaler. If you look back at some old photos, you'll see a lot of 35 Johnsons on these 13-foot whalers. They were workhorse motors, super reliable and powerful. This is a fast little boat with that 35 on there. So this was a nice upgrade in its time. It's an electric start, and she starts right up and she runs great. It's an older motor, but it really runs great. So the boat itself, she's 51 years old and looks fantastic. That trailer's 51 years old too. There's really no rust on it. Of course, it's a freshwater boat. That makes all the difference in the world. But I tell you, I look at a lot of Boston whalers. I buy a lot of Boston whalers, and I ask a lot of questions about trailers. And a lot of the trailers on boats that are 4 or 5 years old are already rusted out. This one has survived 51 years, and you can still go down the interstate with it. That's incredible. The boat is very much original. That's your original stern light there, coming and peeking over the top. That steering wheel is not original. That was replaced. It would have been white back in the day. Obviously, they've added a hummingbird fish finder somewhere along the way, but original controls, everything is quite nice. And speaking of that hummingbird, if we come back here, that boat was to the transom. We can see that was really done well. There's no holes in this transom anywhere. That's for your steering system there. But so this block was glued. It's a PVC block. It was glued onto the transom, and your PVC was, and your transducer was screwed into the PVC block. That way, there's no penetration into the transom whatsoever. So the less screw holes, obviously, the better. If we go to the green line here, that's what separates the top cap to the transom. We always want to look at this and just see what kind of seal you have here. Seal's really good on this. We can see that there were a couple of little cleanup patches done, preventative stuff, and a little bigger one there. What that's doing is just making sure that you don't have any moisture get into the hull. When we come over to this side, you can see that the line is nice and tight as well. A little tiny touch up right there. So that transom's in great shape, not a single screw hole in it, with the exception, of course, of your steering system. The steering system is the original cable and pulley system. Looking at the outside of the boat, we'll look for some imperfections. I know there's a gel coat nick right there. Your rub rail's in really nice shape. I'm sure there's some dings in it somewhere along the way. I know that there's a little bit of trailer rash right down here. Trailer rash is when you pull up on the trailer and you scrape it. So this is all superficial stuff, but really that's about it that I'm aware of as far as gel coat imperfections, again, on a 51-year-old hull. Let's get down here and look at the bottom. No bottom paint. You know I love that. I wouldn't have brought this boat all the way out from Minnesota if she had bottom paint on her. So she looks fantastic. Coming around, looking at the rub rail, looks good. There's a little bit of chunkiness here, I suppose you would say, but that's doing its job. That's supposed to protect the gel coat on the boat. Everything looks very nice. So we peek over the top. You don't have the usual crazing on this boat. It's just really great shape. Look at that non-skid. It's just nearly perfect. Here's a little bit of crazing here and on that side, but it's just fantastic condition. In fact, there's not a single screw drilled into this non-skid anywhere in this boat. Even this battery box, that's just sitting there. No one has ever drilled a hole in the floor of this boat. That's fantastic. When you put holes in the floor of these boats, that's when that foam starts to get wet. And this one doesn't have a single hole in it. Really amazing condition. If we look close, we'll find a little bit of crazing here and there. And of course, this stuff is that's superficial. It's just a gel coat, which is like the paint on your car. And you're going to get a little bit of that crazing on any of these classic whalers, but usually by the time you're looking at a 51-year-old Boston whaler, by the time you're looking at a 20-year-old Boston whaler, that crazing in these 13-footers is running rampant. Not here. Super shape. So, freshwater boat, absolutely amazing condition. We're already up to 9 minutes, so I'm going to try and cut this one down and jump out. But if you're interested in this Boston whaler Sourpuss, let us know. By the way, the name Sourpuss, how did that come about? Boston whaler folklore and legend, whatever, suggests that someone came down from marketing and saw this boat in production and said something like, hey, that's a sassy looking little 13-foot whaler. And I think you should call that a Sourpuss. Don't know if it's true or not, but I like it. I love the story, so I'm going with it. So it is a sassy little boat, and Sourpuss is a really fun name for her. And very hard boat to find, very hard boat to find in fresh water. And this kind of condition is just outstanding. All right, I'm going to put a wrap on it. Keep in mind that 100% of our boats are seen by a professional marine mechanic. 100% of our boats are professionally delivered, and 100% of our boats are thoroughly sea trialed prior to that delivery. All right, York County Marine, I hope everybody has a great evening. Adios.